Julia, I told the guys at work that I was going to be interviewing you, and they're like, oh my God, we love Julia. Now, before
Oh
we get to your
dear.
dream job, we've got to talk babies.
Okay.
My most previous Houston woman she's known as the baby nurse. She moved here over 20 years ago as a nanny from communist Czech Republic
Oh,
and
wow.
started what she calls the baby center. She is like the most well-known baby whisperer in Houston.
Uh-huh.
She's amazing. You'll have to check her out because she's
Yes.
so good. And it
Yes,
just
I
made me
will.
think about you having your baby and how amazing is it to be a new mom?
It's a lot in a good way. Yeah,
Yes,
it was so I don't know. You don't know what to expect, I
I
guess,
know.
is and so yeah, this has been an adventure. Every day is fun. It's just and then, throw in the work stuff on top of it has been
Oh, I know. Oh, we'll talk about how you manage that. But
but it's
I
been
I just
great.
remember you telling people you were pregnant, the
Yep.
baby was coming, and then you said, I just can't even believe the response that you got from the
It's
public.
nuts.
I mean,
Still
right?
nuts. Yeah, people ask me I'll be at, HEB and I'm like and I'll turn around and somebody will be standing there like, "How's the baby doing?" Like, "Hey, baby's
Because
great."
it's like a whole nother dimension to you.
It's really cool how people have responded. But yeah, it's so fun. She's almost 10 months old, so we're in the whole like she's about
She's
to start walking and
smiling and much more like a little
has
human
some
being.
personality. Yeah, has some
Yes. Yeah.
personality. Just
We
scary.
talked about the thing, and we even talked about this on Sunny. What Gabriella said, she remembers when she was a nanny.
Mhm.
The woman she was working for was nursing her little baby, who is now a football star at Rice University. I mean, it's
Oh,
just so cool, the
cool.
story. And she
Yeah.
said, and she took a training and everything, and she said, "Would you like me to massage your feet?" So you've got mom nursing the baby. Gabriella is at her feet, and her feet were swollen, and she
Uh-huh.
starts massaging her feet. I'm like, that's probably the kindest thing I've ever
Yes.
heard to do for a new mom. Isn't
Yes.
that beautiful?
I want someone to rub my feet. Are
I
you kidding me?
know, I know. So I asked
And
our
my
Sunny
lower back while
listeners,
they're
yeah,
at it.
just my arms, and that way you enjoy the baby and you feel great because sometimes
Yes.
nursing isn't always so fun. But was there anything with all your fans, anything that you recall that someone did for you as a new mom I remember a nurse just rubbing my back when
Yeah,
after I delivered
well,
my first.
the crazy thing was the gifts that rolled in. People one found my registry that I didn't know. They
Oh,
searched and found and sent things. And the other thing was people sent things to the ballpark, like handmade quilts and
oh,
paintings.
Julia.
That was like, yeah, that was very touching, because I don't know these people. And
Right, right.
oh, just like for them to take all that time. I mean, I can't like the quilt thing blew me away just because of how much time that takes anyway. And they were beautifully made. Just so sweet. So sweet. But my timing was weird too. And we might get into it, but I thought I was going to be pregnant throughout the whole season. I thought I was going to grow over the season because I got pregnant in January. By the
Right.
time I was going to start showing was probably, like once we got into the season, and then I was due at the end of September. So
Yeah.
in my mind, I was a little bit worried about all that. I was going to have to travel being pregnant and all this stuff. And then of course the world shut down. So when I finally got on
Unbelievable.
TV, I was popping. I was, 7.5 months whenever it finally, when I finally showed my face. And not everyone follows me on social media. A ton of our fans had no idea. So I think I shocked people when I
It's
turned to
the
the side
pandemic
for the
pounds.
first time. Right. And I like
Yeah, yeah.
when I turned to the side, people were probably like, what? When did that happen? Because they didn't get to see, like we weren't on every night and they
Right,
didn't get to
right.
watch me grow or see me at the ballpark and realize because we didn't, we wouldn't have talked about it every night. But people, I see so many people over the screen, but also at the ballpark that people would have like followed along. Anyway, so it was kind of a whole
Crazy
weird,
timing.
yeah, it was
Very
weird
weird.
timing.
How did you land your dream job?
A
I
whole
mean, were you
ton
just
of
one of the lucky
crazy weird.
ones? You were just picked because you're real
Uh,
pretty, really
no,
communicative,
no,
or
no.
was there some kind of other thing that happened in your life?
I mean, timing was a huge part of it, but
Mm.
I would say, I did exactly what they told me I was going to have to do. Like go, you're going to have to work crazy hard. You're going to have to go to a small market and not get paid. And speaking of the baby, she's awake from
I
the nap.
hear.
She's like, "Mommy's talking."
She can
Um
come.
so my mom's great. My mom's got her down there. But
Perfect.
Yeah, I did the whole starting from the bottom, working my way up, and then really dove into baseball in my one of my jobs in Austin, and kind of fell in love with this with that sport. And so when the job for the Astros opened up, I happened to be like all in on baseball. I was already kind of doing it at the minor league level. So I was kind of, I was the perfect person for it. So my
Right, right.
timing worked out. But I did all of the things that that I was told to do, and I worked at those crazy small market jobs, not making any money, and have all those weird stories of covering weird sports. And like I've got it all. So no, I didn't just get handed the job.
You had to work. Now, did you, a lot of kids today, they say that the younger kids aren't willing to pay their dues. But truly, in anything, you pay your dues, you're going to be
Yes.
that much better. And paying your dues means not getting paid in many instances, especially in this type of business where there's so many people who want to do it and so few openings.
Yeah, no, I see the benefits of me doing all that all the time now. Being able to write my own stories and produce my own segments and edit my own stuff and shoot my own stand-ups with the camera and shoot my own highlights. I surprised a lot of people when I started at with the Astros, because I was at this regional network level, and a lot of reporters at that level maybe didn't get there that way. So, for example, a sideline reporter would just show up, and then an audio guy would have to wire her up and hand her the mic and teach her how to turn it on. And like, this is a battery, and you put the battery in, but like
Here's how you
that,
turn
like
on
it's
the
that.
mic.
And
Yeah.
then I showed up and I was like, okay, I'm going to grab this interview. I'm going to do this guy. I'm going to ask him these 3 questions, and we're going to do this. And hey, my IFB is kind of weird. Do you mind just helping me? But I would do it myself. And guys would just be like, whoa, like,
Yep.
what are you doing? Like, you're doing all my work for me. And I'm like, no, I did all this. Like, I don't need, honestly, I only need your help if it's something I can't, something just so advanced. And they loved me for it.
Right. Right.
Loved me for it because,
Right.
and I would let them do their jobs. I wasn't like over the top about it, but at the same time, like, I could just handle myself. And then producers, I was good to work with, because we would go back and forth on what would make good stories, rather than just kind of wait for whatever I was told. So yeah, and I think that's why I'm still here. I mean, people don't last very long in these jobs,
Right.
and there for a while it was like one and done, for a lot of different teams, and not just baseball, all sports. And so it's kind of unique that I'm still here 9 years later.
So could we say you're not a prima donna? You're just like one of the
Oh
guys, a
gosh,
hard
no.
worker,
Oh my
right?
gosh, no. Yeah,
Yeah.
no. The
Yeah.
diva word, no.
That
That's
is
not
awesome. That's
that's
so
not
good.
me.
I always tell my kids, look, your job is to make your boss's life easier. Until you become the boss, your job is to make the
Yeah,
boss's life easier. Do whatever you have
correct.
to do. And then you learn along the way and you get the joy of having the job. And I just can't imagine. I mean, you working with the Astros, there are so many characters. You must have so much fun in a day. I know it's work and you miss your baby, but still working with these guys because you're like one of the guys.
It's a blast. No, the personalities change, and every team is different. Every year is different. And so I think back to all the guys that I've worked with since I've started this job, and really cool people. Yeah, they're
Mhm.
great at what they do on the field. They're the most talented baseball players in the world, but then they've got their own stories. And then the families, if I've known a guy or get to cover a guy enough to watch them start a family in Houston, and
Oh,
and
yeah.
that's really cool too. So
Yes.
like, their little kids, I mean, they watch me every night. So I'll be walking through the tunnel. I remember Tony Sipp's kids were the first that I remember this happening to me, but his oldest, Zoe, was kind of old enough to realize who was who. And I remember her being born. I remember him telling me what her name was going to be and all this stuff. So now she's old enough years later, and she's like, Jula. Like, she said she didn't get it perfectly, but she knew my name, and she
Yeah.
just, and I'm like, I'm not into family. I'm just the girl on TV. But that's what these families do. They watch their dads, and they watch their husbands on TV every night. And I was a part of that. That cool to me. I was like, wait, I remember when you were born, and now you know who I am. I'm almost like the aunt on TV or
You
whatever.
are.
But
Yeah.
that keeps happening. It keeps happening. These little kids will like, it's their little kids, and they'll come up to me and they'll recognize me and they'll want to hug me because they feel like I'm a part of their family, because their family is Astros baseball.
That's
And
right.
so
That's right.
it's really cool. That's a
Do you
cool part of the job.
do you ever get nervous?
Oh yeah. Not
Okay.
every day. I mean, I do
Walk
this
us,
every day.
what would make you nervous? What is it? I'm a
Yeah.
radio person, so I get anxious around cameras. I love the microphone. I don't like cameras. So that makes me anxious and not on my game. What is it for you?
Big games, big moments.
Okay.
And you know, so I'm trying to think of times I've been nervous. Very specific times. There's a pitcher that we don't really want to talk about with Astros Nation anymore, but threw a no-hitter, in 2015. So that's a moment where it was my first to witness. It was my first time to witness a no-hitter, which is such a rare thing in baseball and such an exciting thing as it builds, throughout the game. So of course
Right.
I'm building inside of like, is this gonna really happen? And then I'm the interview, right? So I am a big part of the show all of a sudden. I am not the show, and my job is to not draw attention to myself, but I am a very important piece in that this guy's gonna throw a no-hitter. He's gonna become a part of baseball history, and I'm the one that gets to talk to him seconds after he does it.
Right.
So that's a big job.
That's
And
huge.
so just the whole game builds. It goes back to that. It's just like the crowd's really into it. They know it's happening. The team's all into it. And so the first time I did that, I was almost sick. I was so nervous. Like, I cannot mess this up. And they also run that whole thing live, and
Right. Right.
people tune in. I knew it was going to be on all national networks because it is that big, and we got through it. And it was great. It was a fantastic interview. But that's an example of why the nerves start to build for me. And then,
Yeah.
Justin Verlander threw his third career no-hitter in September of 2019. And so, it's a guy that I've done a lot of interviews with in big moments. I remember when the Astros clinched in 2017, he was the new guy on the team. They were on their way to a World Series. We didn't know it yet, but we were so excited about the type of pitcher, the Hall of Fame type of pitcher that Justin Verlander was on the Astros, the way he was pitching. He pitched in that game where they clinched, and that was a big interview for me just because he is kind of an intense person. If you've ever watched him pitch, he's very intense.
Yes.
He's
Yes.
intense off the field too. It's just a strong personality. I wanted to nail that. I wanted to come across great, and he was great. It's just they're at a different level in that moment that it's hard to explain unless you've played sports or been around sports, or maybe it's not. Maybe there's other jobs that have that too. But when guys come, when they are they are at the peak, and when they do something that they've worked so hard for
Mhm.
and they've accomplished it, it's like something radiates off of these guys. And so that energy is crazy, and it's why we love it so much, right? It's like
Right.
why we
Right.
love sports so much. But I'm all of a sudden in the circle of this energy that's
This
radiating off of them, like
orb.
I'm
Yeah.
within feet of it.
Yes.
And it's impossible not to get worked up over it, right? And so when he threw his third career no-hitter, which we knew was a big deal for him, he'd been
Mhm.
talking about it for years. He's gotten so close so many times, and he finally did it. This guy, who is again the most intense person I've ever been around, like does this little jig of a dance. Like he's like giddy. He just high-fived everyone, and he like dances, and it's really awkward. Like there's just so much coming out of him. You right? It's just like so much is happening. There's relief in there because he gotten so close so many times. There's things he wants to check off before he's done with this game, and
Right.
that was one of them. So he does this dance, and then he walks over to me. So like 10 seconds after he's doing this weird dance, like, here we go. Like, let's go to Julia. And I'm like, I can't, there's so much going on in my head, and I'm feeling all that passion too. And I know I'm going off on a rant because this is what I love about this job.
Right. Right.
This is it. I mean, you've hit it on the head. I don't know what's going to happen when I show up to the ballpark. And it could be as exciting as that, or it could just be another 2-1 game where, not much happened.
Same old. Yeah.
And that's right. That's what's so fun about this job.
But when you see something big is happening, I know I'm already preparing in my head what I'm going to say. I've got to have the clever line, just the right
Oof.
thing. Are you just going to kind of wing it at the moment the microphone goes on, or do you have an idea of where you're going to go?
It's a great question because there are times where it's absolutely winging it,
Yeah.
and a lot of it has to do with how the game ends. So a lot of people, the walk off interviews that I do, a lot of people know me as the girl that gets Gatorade dumped on her.
Yes,
after
I've
games, you
seen
know,
that.
right.
Yes.
It happened a lot early in my career only because the team wasn't very good. So they would celebrate wins like they were winning the World Series every day.
Right.
And that got better because then they were winning every night. And so it would have to be a really big deal in order to, for something to happen like that. So
Right.
but but when those happen, and we've had a couple of crazy ones this year. So Jose Altuve hits a walk-off grand slam earlier in the year at home. That was nuts. But I didn't know that was about to happen. They're down 3 runs. It's like I didn't. You don't like you have to prepare in your head for if this batter comes up. What if he does it? And I do. That's part of my job. I'm
Right.
prepared. But at the same time, like that's the fifth thing I'm prepared for, right? It's like,
Yeah.
okay, he's gonna get on. They're gonna move. They're gonna score a run. Like I'm thinking of all of it, just like the play-by-play guys. And then he does it. And so I've got to get myself packed up. I've got my heels on. I've got to hop over some cables. I got to get out onto the field. And then I'm trying to take in the moment too, because it's always a really fun moment to be on the field for that.
Right.
Crowd's going absolutely nuts. I can't hear a thing. I know I have had, my earbuds in, but I can't hear a thing of what Todd's saying. So he's given the great, like the stats. Todd's so great about that. Todd Callis, our play-by-play guy. He's like, telling you how many times this has happened, how many career walk-offs how Altuve's had. I don't hear any of it. And so then I'm like, I'm following the celebration, right? I'm like, oh, he's over there. He's over here. Okay, I've got to walk over here. No, Altuve, come over here. I'm over here. I'm over here. And then he's there and we're live. So like at what point was I thinking of questions?
Right.
Like that.
Right.
So that's my point. It's like at what point did I memorize something to say? Like, no. So there are times, yes, there are times where I can have things prepared. And then there's times like that. And we just had Altuve just had another walk-off against the Yankees. And that was the most improbable comeback I've seen. I couldn't think of another one just in a regular season game like that where they were down 5. They scored 6 runs in the bottom of the ninth, and it just all happened so fast. There was only 1 out when the game ended, so it happened fast. I didn't even have my shoes buckled up all the way, and so it's you got it. Sometimes you just got to wing it because that's
That's
sports, right? Like
amazing.
it just kind of happens,
Yep.
just kind of falls in your lap, and and it all happens at the very end, which is again why we love this game so much. It's the best game about.
Unpredictability. Yeah. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you have a struggle picking outfits? I love the outfits, the shoes, and are the players required to go to talk to you? Like, how does that work?
Mhm. Yeah, well, the walk-off wins are, I call them walk-off wins because they're literally walking off. So it's a little different for those listening and watching. There are walk-off wins for the Astros where they walk it off. But then we call the interview where it happens on the field that a lot of people are very familiar with walk-off interviews because they're just walking off the field.
Right.
Um, but after every win, yes, someone is required to come talk to us as
Okay.
the broadcast partner. And I've got some help with the PR staff with that. Like going back to how there might be a boring game where not a lot happens. Somebody's got to come talk to me, right? We're gonna make it like it's the biggest win ever,
Gotcha.
because it's part of the show. And
Right.
fans just sat there for 4 hours. They watched this boring game play out. They want to, like the least they deserve is to hear from somebody on what it was like to play in that game.
Right.
And we also have the post game show that we got to fill. We got 30
Right.
minutes we got to fill. And so yeah, we talk to everybody in the clubhouse. We hear from the manager and all that coming up, but that is a part of the requirement. The outfits.
Yeah. More importantly, the outfits.
That's something that's I've come a long way since I started. It was a true fear of mine when I started because you go from, maybe I was working it was like a Wednesday through Sunday. I was off Mondays, Tuesdays. So that was my
Mhm.
work week, but you still
Mhm.
had a weekend. For all of you out there that have weekends, like God bless you. You guys are so lucky that just have 2 days, whatever they are, to like reset, maybe
Right.
take clothes to the dry cleaner, kind of pick out what you're going to do next week. Maybe you're meal planning. We don't get that in baseball season. It just keeps going. And we have, say the game's 5 hours long and it's 1 a.m. Like they don't push the next day back. You don't get to
Right.
have a
Right.
later start.
Right.
So if there's a day game, you're up there at 8 a.m. no matter what. And sometimes you're on the road and sometimes you're jet lagged. And so when I started this job, it was scary because I didn't even own and I wasn't making a ton of money at all these little markets that I was working my way up. And I would just have like blazers I could switch out because I was doing local sports. And so you'd be on the
Right.
desk. So people didn't really see your bottom half. And I had a lot of mix matching. Well, then I went to a job where I'm seeing head to toe And I, and I also saw what other reporters were wearing, and they were decked out. They were, that was, it was like part of their thing. And so I
Yeah.
thought,
Yeah.
okay, how am I going to keep up? It's like keeping up with the Joneses. And so I did a lot of shopping at like H&M and Forever 21 the first year, because I was like, I can't afford to have a nice dress every day.
Right.
But these dresses are like falling apart, and
Oh
I'm
yeah.
like sitting in
Two
the
times max.
sun.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And I'm sitting in the sun for day games, and then, like the sweat's coming through, and they can see it when I'm sitting. So when I stand up, it's just disgusting. It's way too much information for people. But Houston folks know. So I started renting, and that was like a
Yes.
life changer, just
Yes.
because they could ship clothes to me on the road, coats, because I traveling with the team, I'm in a different climate every
Right.
3 days. Dry, humid, cold, hot, lots of rain on the road.
Yeah.
So I started renting, and I would ship out coats to the next city that I was going to be in. So they'd just be at the hotel waiting for me. I mean, I learned. It took a while, and the packing was really hard. I mean, for 12-day road trips, I have to go through every single day and pick out like earrings, bracelets, shoes, all of it. And then I became kind of a shoe person, and then I had to keep that up for a while, because it was like people came to the ballpark to see what shoes I was wearing.
Oh,
A lot of
that's
pressure, a
amazing.
lot of
Yeah.
pressure on that. So yeah, no, it's difficult. And my wardrobe's gotten better. There are pieces in there that I can wear. I do not wear the same thing twice, because of the fact that I can rent a lot of it.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's a big part of the job.
It is a big part of the job. I know. I was thinking about that. Is this job conducive to being a mom?
No,
Of
no.
course not.
And then going back to what we were talking about earlier, and not being, I said the word diva, which I love divas. I think divas. If I could be
We need
Beyonce,
divas.
if I could switch out, I would be Beyonce in a second. But it's just not who I am. So I'm not one that enjoys standing in front of a mirror putting on makeup.
Right.
Not at all. It is not my thing. And I have to every
Yeah.
single day. And so yeah, and then picking out what you're going to wear, because it still takes work. Even the renting, I'm having to pick out and figure out what we're doing on TV that day. Making sure I'm not wearing the other team's colors is a big deal, because I get
Mhm.
crushed for that on social
I
media.
can
If I happen to
imagine.
wear a red dress in the middle of July and we happen to be playing the Angels, oh my goodness, don't even check my mentions. It's just and I'm like, I can't keep up, guys. There's 162 of these. Um,
You've
but
learned.
I'm just like, guys. But yeah, no, it takes time and all of that. So I mean, my mother is an angel that's
That's
been able to
so
help me
good.
this year. My husband plays baseball in
Yes.
Mexico, so
Right.
he's not here right now, and he'll be here by the end of August, and we'll be able to take over the duties. And he did before he left too. My season started before his, so it was him and her, and I don't know
So
what was
good.
happening at night. I know that bath time was like his thing. All of a sudden I had to get back into bath time duties, and I was like, okay, honey, what do we do? Like, what's her favorite? I'm like trying to jump back in. He
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
great at it. So thank goodness for the people that are around me. I can't, no way I can do this without them.
I have learned from our women that make our city shine. It's the support system. For
Yeah.
you guys to be able to do what you do and have kids, you've got an amazing support system.
Yeah, no, I mean, what am I going to do? Drop my kid off at daycare at 2
No,
p.m. and then go pick them up at 1 a.m.? Like,
no.
it's impossible. There is no
Right.
daycare. And so, yeah, it's just, and then, it's like, I didn't know what I was going to do. My hours are just strange. And, thank goodness. And we're going to have to figure something out eventually. And if
It'll
there are more
come.
kids in the future, you
Yep.
just got to
Yep.
figure it out as you go. That was some advice that I got before I even had kids. And wow, it's absolutely true.
My program director, when I was pregnant with my fifth, I quit. I just said, I quit. I'm done. And then he goes, no, you're not. I'll drive you to the hospital when you're ready to deliver that baby. He held true to that. Seriously. I didn't quit. I had my fifth kid,
Good.
and he was going to drive me to the hospital. And I was like, no, it's okay. I can do it myself. No big worries. I've got this down. But he was
Oh my
so
goodness.
good. And because we just knew we'd make it work. You
Yeah.
can just make it work.
Yeah.
And offices and businesses are so flexible. I know you've got a little bit tighter schedule, but you bring those kids along or have mom come along,
Right. I know.
that's,
And the traveling part is going to have to change. Yeah.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah,
that is that's part of the job, where it is great for somebody who's single, who's someone who doesn't have kids, that can get on a plane every 3 days and travel across the country and not have any worries about what's going on at your house, because I can't keep plants alive during a normal baseball season. It doesn't happen. And so, but now I gotta keep the kid alive. And so, yeah, that part of it will change. And like I was saying earlier, you can't change the time of the games. They
Right.
go on with or without you. So yeah, we'll just figure it out as we go. But there's other options. My job is kind of, it hasn't changed too much from maybe people sitting at home, but there's hosting. We do a little. We're real versatile, and so
Mm.
we might change some things up just to help each other out sometimes. So yeah, there's ways. There
Yeah.
are ways, and I can't wait to see what the future holds and see what we can figure out. And especially if I end up with five, my goodness,
You never know. I never
you
thought I
never know.
would. I'm like, how did I even end up like this? Do you host any parties for the Astros? Do you guys socialize, or do you just kind of, you're here, they're here?
Oh, well, so I mean, events, yeah. If there's fundraisers, charity things that
Uh-huh.
that are going on at the players, I'm definitely always usually a part of that, covering
Wow.
and then not covering it. I've gotten really close to some of the wives, and I love their foundations and what they stand for and some of the missions behind it. So I
That's
obviously want
excellent.
to help with that. Yeah. So
Hmm.
yeah, and anything that's going on when the Astros have events or have things going on, I'm usually invited or usually hosting, like you said, or maybe moderating a panel. I mean, it could be anything. I love being a part of this organization, not just with what's going on at the field, but all the things that happen around, and in the off season too. There's always something going on in the off season, and so that's we've got a really good group of guys that actually live in Houston now, and that's kind of changed the game for all that. And
Yeah.
there's always something going on, and they're always trying to raise awareness for something. It's really cool what they do.
That is amazing. You're a great ambassador for our Astros. I bet you hook up with Mattress Mac and get to know him. He is a
Love
huge,
Mattress Mac.
right? Isn't he the best? He's just the best. Are you native Texan?
Oh, yes. I have
Okay,
never
good.
left the state. I grew up in Crandall, Texas, which is a tiny, tiny town. It's closer to Dallas. It's up north a little bit, tiny town. And then I took off to Kilgore College. So Kilgore, Texas, for 2 years. I was a rangerette. And then I went to UT Austin. And from there, my markets that I worked in, I started in Sherman, Texas, was the weekend sports anchor, then moved to Tyler,
Wow.
Texas, where I was the weekend sports anchor. And then I moved back to Austin to cover sports there. I was a sports reporter for a 24-hour network covering my alma mater, which was really, really cool, just to cover UT sports when because
Yeah.
I was a Texas Palm girl at Texas. So I was, a cheerleader for the school, and I bleed burn orange. So it was really cool to go back and cover the team in that spectrum. And so, and then Houston. So
That's
yeah,
perfect.
I got really
Perfect.
lucky. I got really lucky.
What advice will you give your daughter? You're a mom who's worked your way up. You're doing a really, you're kind of a lady in a man's world doing some fun stuff, interviewing really cool people. And you're just nonstop go and you're flexible. What advice would you give your little girl?
Yeah, I mean, it's the working hard part of it. I wouldn't be here if I didn't work my tail off. So I would hope that in whatever she wants to do, she's just going to do it with gum, like go all in, give it all you got. And because my family's like that.
Mhm.
We're like, we've always been a hardworking family. I drew a lot of my, I guess, what I do now actually happened because of my dad. He ran for US Senate back when I was really young, and went on this crazy cool campaign, got a lot of media attention, kind of did the impossible, unthinkable, and a lot of people counted him out, and he made history. He did not win, but he made some history. He was actually on one of my college exams when I took government.
Get
And
out
so,
of
I mean,
here.
just really like a really cool, like, what the heck are you doing? But thank God you did it, because you
Right.
inspired so many people, including me. And so that's my dad. And so
You're so lucky. What's your
I
dad's
hope
name?
to.
Like, what did he do?
Victor Morales, he ran for US Senate in 1996,
Wow.
and
Wow.
he was a school teacher that, kind of just had a dream to change the world and do a lot of things for the community, and of course the state of Texas. And so he jumped in a pickup truck and he asked people to just register to vote. Here's who I am. And nowadays it's crazy to even think that you have to have a lot of money, you have to know people, and
That's
dad didn't
right.
have any of it. And that was part of his charm. It was part of his story. He was just an ordinary guy, and it turned into a national story once they picked up on what the heck he was doing. it was a really cool campaign because it did really inspire people to just like, it doesn't matter who you are or what you have, like you can still make change. And so that was kind of his message. And I watched that as a 10-year-old. I saw the media attention. I fell in love with the red light and the live, the whole like 3, 2, 1, go, like
Right.
really
Right.
thrilled me. So here I am on TV. And my
Beautiful.
little brother took off to LA and he's an actor, dancer, model out there. Like, what are we
All right.
doing?
What's
We're
his name
just
so I can Google him? What's his name? Come on, Julia.
that's Jesse. Jesse Morales is my
Jesse
younger
Morales.
brother, and he's doing some great things. He's been behind Beyonce. He danced behind Mariah Carey for a while. He's done just some really
That's
cool stuff. So
amazing.
I just hope she sees all that. I'm probably not going to preach a lot. My parents didn't just come down on us about a lot of things or tell us we had to do it one way or another. But I just hope that she kind of gets all that from us, right? And
Hmm.
just
Hmm.
hears us tell stories and knows that she can do it. But yeah, she can do whatever the heck she wants too. I
Love
did
it.
not know a female that was doing what I was doing when I was young. And even when I got a little bit older, it just, we weren't in these positions yet. So that all kind of happened as I got up there. So, I mean, have an open mind. Like you can go in with a dream, but have an open mind. You just don't know where the world is going to take you or what you're going to be exposed to. And yeah, so I hope she's open to whatever,
I
her
love it.
heart kind of, yeah, falls towards.
I always ask my guests, what advice would you give for to a woman who wants to do something that you're doing, a young lady? I think you just gave it. And a lot of
Yeah.
times it is have an open mind. You never know how the cards are going to play out.
Yeah, and if they're, specifically with broadcast journalism, and this too, we go back to the fact that you just kind of have to say yes in the beginning sometimes. Just pay your dues
Yep.
is a real
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
And I did. I worked for free a lot before I actually got that first job. And then
True.
when you're making $15,000 a year, is that I mean, that's pretty much working for free, right?
Right.
Like you
Right.
can't
Yeah.
pay rent with that. But I did it and I figured it out. And it's I know not everyone's able to say yes to everything, but gosh, I mean, there's just so many opportunities out there. Just keep searching, keep finding, put your, the YouTube. We've all got one of these. You all have a cell phone, like
I know.
throw yourself on it somehow. Make your own content and see where it all goes. And then be willing to change. Like it's the open mind part of it. Be willing to, hey, we have this job for you, but you might have to shoot this, or you might have to have these weird hours. Like just say yes. I mean, just go for it. And if you don't like it, get out of it. It's just I'm all about that because that's how we all kind of got here. I didn't come into my career saying like I'm going to be the Astros sideline reporter, like, and that's it. Like, no, I said yes to crazy jobs on the way, landed this one, and I happened to just really fall in love with this job, fall in love with the city of Houston. I mean, it's like going back to it's a rare thing that I am still here because these jobs do turn over and change, and maybe women go on to do national or different gigs or find their way back home. That I am lucky in that I'm home. I
Right.
find this home, but yeah, it's just kind of be willing to go where the wind takes you. I mean, it's there's some cool stuff out there.
I think you also have a lot of joy and passion. And I think that helps because you're contagious and people want to be around you.
Well,
And
thank
you
you.
seem to have the whole package, Julia. It's
Thank
amazing. And
you.
another thing I've learned, the dad's influence on our women who have done amazing things
For sure.
is cannot be discounted. I mean, dads
Absolutely.
do amazing things to help strong women. And
Hmm.
so we have to thank our dads a lot. Of course, moms are there for us, but dads
For sure.
really important because they get discounted so many times. And when you see the Astros players and their babies, and I mean, was it Altuve that had his daughters draw on his
Yes,
cleats? I
his
just
cleats.
love that for Father's
That's
Day.
sweet. Yeah.
Just
Oh,
so
he
cute.
wants 5 girls. He told me. I was like, I want 5 girls.
Watch,
He
he'll probably have
loves
them.
being a girl dad. Yeah, I just think
He's
it's really
perfect.
cool. And Ryan Stanek's about to have a girl, one of our relievers, and he's so excited. I just love that they're excited about it too. It's gone
Amazing.
are the days where the dads are falling out when they find out they have a girl. I mean,
Oh
it has to be a boy or else. Like, no,
girls
we're
can be
cool
cool.
too.
Yeah.
We're cool too.
You're just
Exactly.
great. How can people follow you on social media? Is it Julia Morales?
It is on Twitter and Julia
Okay.
Morales Clark on Instagram. And I'm pretty active on Instagram. I'll tell you that that's the fun place because I can post a lot of videos from my from my vantage point, which is right next to the dugout. So a lot of celebration videos from the guys. Like it was just that behind the scenes that I tried to give to the fans because I do have such a great seat to the game. And I try to be the eyes and ears. I'm there really early until late at night. I kind of see everything that goes on. So I try to share that. So if you're into any of it, follow along. And there might be a picture of my kid every once in a while.
I
And
love that.
mixed
Gotta
in.
have that. Gotta have that. Julia, so nice to finally meet you. The
Yes,
guys are
you
gonna
too.
love it. I'm gonna play little clips of this interview on the radio on Sunny
Oh, fun.
99.1 because I've learned a lot about these things that people might not know about you. So thank you for sharing a little bit of your life with us. I appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you reaching out. That was really, really nice of you. Thank you.
Go Astros.
Go Astros. Yes.